be here with Chuck McGee III. We are going to have a conversation today about the Wim Hof Method and also about type 1 diabetes. I met Chuck in Poland in January at the week-long winter Wim Hof retreat. Got to know him a little bit. He's a Wim Hof instructor, one of the first. He is a breath coach. He is a mindfulness coach and a exercise coach as well. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, as long as that it pertains to the Wim Hof method and like the oxygen advantage. Yeah.
And the oxygen advantage. That's right. That's what the other thing was too.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I got to know him a little bit in Poland. He is an amazing human being with a ton of knowledge. He is also a type 1 diabetic. So he has really pertinent information for us today on this conversation on the topics that we're discussing. So if you're watching, please share to any pages or support groups or people that are type 1 diabetics. I would really like to get this information out to them as much as we possibly can. And I hope that you find this conversation of value. So, Chuck, can you give us a little bit of information about who you are and what you're up to?
Well, I kind of stumbled into the Wim Hof method and breathing properly. I was a bartender for 16 years, worked in the theater world, loved it, but they're high stress jobs. And high stress and diabetes don't go together real well. And one night a customer came in and started talking about the Wim Hof method. I looked it up and I've been chasing that rabbit down this hole ever since. I didn't believe it was so simple that just by changing the way I breathe, doing some breathing exercises and sitting in cold water, I could have such a huge impact on this illness that has a huge impact on my life.
Yeah. And just to clarify for people, because I know that there's a lot of misunderstanding between type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. What is type 1 exactly? And what
So type 1 is I'm insulin dependent. My body is not producing any insulin. If I were to stop taking insulin, it would not end well or pretty for me. But the difference between type 1 and type 2 is type 2 is usually later in life, brought on by diet, inactivity, or high stress. And there's multiple types of type 1. There's type 1 that you get as a kid, which is genetic. And it just kind of comes on. That's early onset. Mine is from an autoimmune illness. They don't exactly know what. Their best guess is I was highly allergic to the mold in my house. I got a fever one day and my body just freaked out. And then I became a type 1 diabetic pretty much overnight. It was insane. I was healthy one day and sick the next. And that's just how it affected my autoimmune system. I'm from Humboldt County. I was about 32.
Oh, wow. Okay. Got it.
Mm-hmm. And I went from healthy working to I needed to go to the hospital. And they said, well, you're type 1 diabetic now. And I went, how does that happen? Like no markers, no indications, no nothing. But that, I have to say, was one of the best things that's ever happened to me in my entire life. If I hadn't been diagnosed as a type 1 diabetic, I wouldn't be walking any of the paths I walk now. My life would be so much different. And when I got diagnosed, my wife, she talked about it and she said, this could be the thing that crushes you, or this could be one of the best things to happen to you because it'll motivate you to eat right and get healthy. And if you can eat right, get healthy, and do some exercise, you can mitigate most all of the side effects from type 1 diabetes.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. That's really cool. And thank you for that clarification. So, what exactly is the Wim Hof method? And you found out about it about 4 years ago, 5 years ago?
4.5, 5 years ago. Yeah.
Got it.
So the Wim Hof method is a 3-pillar system with breathing exercises, gradual and safe exposure to the cold. And in the beginning, I didn't understand that this 3rd pillar was, to me, the most important, but it's mindset and commitment. And I kind of brushed it off in the beginning that, it's just, have a good mindset. And I didn't realize that that is, in fact, one of, in my opinion, the most powerful pillar of the method. No matter how scary type 1 diabetes is, or how scary it may seem to sit in a tub of cold water or go on a mountain hike while wearing little clothes, with the proper mindset and the proper breath attached, the scary can seem doable and less scary.
Got it.
So with that mindset, I just kind of go at it that way against life now. You know, just with a smile, a calm breath, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and I know we had a discussion about this before, and I really was just like amazed to see what type of a difference it made for you in relation to your emotions and in relation to anxiety. I know there are 2 type 1 diabetics in my close family, and so I've grown up around that and kind of what they deal with around health, and especially the anxiety that comes with going, after you have a really high. That happens sometimes because you can't completely control this no matter what you do.
Nope, and that's the scary part about it. No matter how well we take care of it, there are going to be days where it's just going to do its thing.
Exactly. And so, for example, when you have a high now, or I guess when you had a high in the past, and afterwards, what was it like for you? Did you have a lot of anxiety around that? Did you have a lot of just thoughts running in your head? Oh my God, I'm killing myself, basically. Like, what was that like in the past?
Well, when I have highs, it feels like hot, oily sand going through my bloodstream. And it's physically uncomfortable, and emotionally it's nerve-wracking. It was so stressful. It was, oh my God, I can feel this. I can feel the damage it's causing right now. And I would start to hyperventilate and just really start to stress my body out even more, which would raise my blood sugar. And then I learned through multiple ice baths, through the Wim Hof breath work, slow it down, just go for a walk, do what you can do now, and it'll eventually go lower. Sitting there worrying about a high is not going to help me, but actually going out and exercising will bring it down. And someone asked a question there, what is a high? And a high is really anytime your blood sugar's higher than 180 is too high. The highest in America, I know in England or in Europe, they have a totally different system of measuring blood glucose that doesn't add up to the numbers I'm throwing out, because it's low. It's like 1.7 or something like that. It's in the ones. And if I was ever down at a 1, I'd be dead by the way we measure our blood glucose here. But now I just relax. I slow my breathing down even more, and I go out and walk. Even when it's like this and we're quarantined, you can still go out and, maintain social distancing and walk.
Totally. And so that's a high. So that's what it's like when you have a high. What about when you have a low? What was your reaction to lows like before the Wim Hof method, and what is your reaction now when you have those breathing techniques and the cold techniques and the mindset?
Well, that's the hardest time to apply all of that is when I'm having a low. When I'm having a low, my brain does not have enough glucose to function properly. So it really doesn't, no matter what I know, no matter what philosophies I follow, when I'm in a low, my brain is switching into survival mode.
Yeah.
And it was hard not to shove more sugar in my face than I needed when I was having those lows. I would have such a vast swing. I'd go from low to really high, which is not the most comfortable of transition. And through practice and through breath work and through mindset, not all the time. Sometimes I still eat too much, but I'm able to maintain that body awareness to not go low as much. And when I do go low, to not eat as much, to bring my blood sugar to that super other side of the spectrum.
Got it. So can you tell better now? Are you more connected to your body, and
Absolutely.
that you can tell, like, hey, I'm starting to go low sooner than you used to be able to?
Yes, that's the key thing is now low for a diabetic is anything below 70 in the way we measure. And I can usually start feeling a little uncomfortable around 75 or 80. So before I go past that unsafe threshold, I'm already getting, it feels like I'm about to sweat. That's just for me. I don't know how it feels for other diabetics. I can't speak to how their body feels, but for me, it feels like I'm just getting too hot. I'm about to overheat because when I do drop really low, I literally sweat from every pore in my body, from my shins to it's the weirdest thing. And I can just feel that phenomena inside me starting to happen before it really gets into it.
Yeah.
And I'm able.
were you aware of that as much, 4 or 5 years ago beforehand? Like what was kind of the difference and what's the feeling like?
It would just
How
hit
much
me all
quicker?
cold.
It would just hit you
I would
completely.
only feel it when I was at 40 or 30, and
Oh, wow. Okay.
that's way too late.
Yeah.
And it would hit me. I wouldn't feel it hit me until it was already on top of me, and
Got it.
I couldn't prevent that low. And
Got
it was weird because I would be at work and I would check my blood sugar and I was at 150, which is good for work because I have hours left to go. 10 minutes later, I was at 35. They have no idea how that switch happened so fast,
Wow.
but it did. And that was before I started practicing the method. I haven't had any vast switch like that since before I started practicing.
Got it. Got it. That's amazing. Let's see here. What else have we got? Yeah. Oh, so for your insulin sensitivity, for example, how much insulin were you taking before you started focusing on the Wim Hof method and now? What's the difference like?
Well, so when I go to, say, Poland, right now I'm taking 25 to 30 units of long-term insulin once a day. When I go to Poland and we're doing breath work every day, we're sitting in the ice every day, and we're going on those really long cold exposure hikes, I have to drop the insulin I'm taking to 17 to 20 units. I have to take 1/3 less while living in that extreme environment.
Yeah.
And that happened to me. I started taking 1/3 less insulin when I started doing the Wim Hof breath work than what I was taking before. And it's going to be different for every diabetic. It's not going to be the same for everybody. Everybody's body is different. But I had to learn that breathing quickly is going to raise my blood sugar, because every time after the breath work, I would see a rise in my number. And then I started just breathing through my nose, nice and slow. I didn't see such a huge jump in my blood sugar. And then by breathing low, slow, and deep, I can actually bring my blood sugar down.
Wow.
So by following these breathing practices and doing the cold exposure, because the cold exposure is what makes you a little more insulin sensitive, I've seen some huge benefits for it.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's really, really cool.
And just by doing the breath work itself, it helps optimize cardiovascular elasticity, which means as I'm doing the breath work, my veins and arteries are opening and closing, and I'm exercising the thing that diabetes is attacking the most, which is my cardiovascular system. So I love doing the breath work every day. I've less, they've been measuring my eyes. They've been measuring neuropathy. I have no neuropathy. They can't tell I'm a diabetic with any of the scans. They know I'm diabetic because my body's not producing insulin.
Yeah.
And sometimes my A1C is higher than it should be. Unfortunately, that happens. But all in all, they can't tell. And I can't say 100% empirically because I'm not a scientist. My background is bartending and theater. But the Wim Hof method has really, really helped me combat the negative side effects from being a diabetic.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah, that's really, really cool. I have, let's see, a couple of questions that have been submitted actually by people beforehand that are all type 1 diabetics that have got here.
Okay.
One of those is, what is it, has it made any difference on the diabetes related depression that diabetics do tend to experience?
That is thank you for that question.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does. Now, this is just my interpretation of my internal feelings, but depression for me is like dominoes. I hear that first one start to click, and I hear them start to fall, and I can feel an episode coming on. And if I can catch myself before they really, really tumble and I'm deeply depressed, I can pull myself out of it. I won't go into that depressive state. I'll take an ice bath, and that really stops the dominoes in their tracks. I won't really do the breathing first. I mean, I'll slow my breath down to in 3, out 6, just through my nose, but I don't have the mental focus at that point to sit down and do the breath work. That'll just add to the situation. I'll get aggravated because I can't get into my rhythm, and it just kind of makes it worse. So I go sit in an ice bath or take a cold shower and shock my system. And now suddenly I'm not focused on this internal stimulus. I've changed my internal stimulus to an external stimulus, which is much more important for my body to pay attention to, because if it doesn't pay attention to the cold water, that's much more life-threatening on a strictly survival level than the things you're thinking in your head. So by pulling myself out of my head with the cold, I can then go do my breath work, calm myself down, and totally avoid that episode. If I am depressed, I have a really awesome support system. My wife will let me know I'm depressed, gradually at first, and much more heavy-handed at the end. And if it has to get to that point, that sucks, but sometimes it just does. And hopefully I'll listen to her advice and go take that ice bath. But that's the problem with depression, is once you're in that state, it's hard to snap yourself out of it, even if you know that these things are going to work.
Got it.
And you just got to do it. You got to step out. You got to shock the system, and then you can start bringing yourself back to normal.
Yeah. And one thing that I remember from our last conversation is that you actually write yourself notes when you're in a good mood, to yourself when you're in a bad mood, and put them on sticky notes in places so that you can actually remind yourself when you're in that depressed state to go calm down, do some breathing, to do some things. So that's kind of I thought that was really a good thing to do too, a really cool thing.
At that point, you're just ignoring yourself. I view depression like being drunk. It's never a good idea to send a drunk text at 2 a.m. And when you're in the midst of depression, it's never a good idea to figure out how you got there. Okay, you're there. Let's get you out. And then looking back clearly, you can see why you got there. But high emotions, happiness, joy, anger, sadness, depression take about 30% of your mental acuity. So I'm not going to try and figure out anything while I'm 1/3 less as smart.
Yeah.
I love how I said that not quite correctly, but I'm going with it.
I'm glad you are. Please do.
So, and that's the thing. It's like, if I'm starting to get irritated or angry at somebody, do I like them or love them enough to give them 1/3 of my intellect? If the answer is no, then I should probably calm down. And if I'm in a good mood and I'm writing myself notes for I'm in a bad mood, if I'm like, that guy's an asshole, that's just me. Like, there's only so much you can say about the note you wrote yourself when you were in a good mood. Like, I'm feeling great today. Did breath work in an ice bath. If you're feeling sad, you should too. Oh, that guy's just a dick. No, it doesn't.
That's great. That's great. Well, yeah, that's really, really important information. I saw Wendell was commenting. Thank you on there. Let me just take a look. There was a couple of questions. Yeah. How many rounds and how many times a day do you practice the Wim Hof breathing?
So twice a day is right now. Usually once a day if I am living the normal life I used to live. Now it's twice a day because it helps me relax. In the morning, I'll breathe a bit quicker and just for a little more focus and energy. At night, I'll breathe only through my nose, really extend my exhale. And it's 3 to 5 rounds, whatever I feel like doing. It doesn't really, I don't like count every time. I'm, okay, 5 rounds today. And you just do what you feel right is with your body. And I'll take a cold shower or an ice bath every day because it helps me with my blood sugar and it helps me with the lack of, because I am doing less physical activity. Everybody is. The ice baths help with the chronic pain and inflammation I have. And during this lockdown, my blood sugars have been a little higher than normal, but not as high as some of the other diabetics I've been talking to because they can't do their normal routines. But
got it.
To answer one of the questions, my normal blood sugar when I wake up in the morning is around 110. After I eat, it'll go a little bit high, of course, but then it comes back down within half an hour, which is normal. And for me personally, aspartame will shoot my blood sugar up to the stratosphere for like a couple days. So I just avoid any of those fake sugars. I don't do like the sugar alcohols or anything like that. The negative carb counts don't work for me. I just eat a very, very low carb diet. I eat less than 60 grams of carbohydrates a day. And I just walk the edge of ketosis because I don't want to enter diabetic ketoacidosis.
Yeah, that is a scary thing for sure.
Yeah. I keep a very low carb diet, but I kind of walk that line because I get stuck. Most type 1 diabetics get stuck in keto flu because every time we give ourselves insulin, it's pulling us out of ketosis. So I just eat really low carb.
Right?
Hmm?
That's going into ketoacidosis.
So ketoacidosis is when your blood sugar gets too high and you're in ketosis. So if you're in ketosis and you can keep your blood sugar in that range and it's working right for you, and it does for some diabetics, that's excellent. But everybody's physiology is different, so you've got to do what works for you. And it's when you're in ketosis and your blood sugar goes higher than 400 and then it keeps going higher, you can get into diabetic ketoacidosis where your blood turns into acid. It's a lovely, lovely thing. Feels wonderful.
Yeah. Not good.
So it's a fine line to walk. But the ketogenic diet, before it was called the ketogenic diet, was referred to as the diabetic diet for the longest time.
And this next question goes right into something that you said earlier. Somebody asked if the breathing in ice baths help with joint pain.
Absolutely.
Or cold showers for that matter, because not everybody's able to do an ice bath. But what about cold showers and breathing?
Oh, man. So I didn't start ice baths until about 6 months into the process, and I was only doing cold showers in the beginning. And I'll front load this. The trick with the cold is to not, if you're enduring the cold, it's going to be unpleasant. You're going to be tight. And I'm doing cold. No, that's not going to help. It's more surrendering to the fact that it's just cold. You can't do anything about it except calm your breath. The breath you're supposed to go for is in 3, out 6, through your nose. So it would look like this. It's nice, deep, and diaphragmatic. And it's that calm breath and that stressful situation that gives you that superpower. By meeting any stressful, scary, unpleasant situation with a calm breath, you're telling your heart to slow down because your body responds to the breath. And if you're sitting there in the cold, your heart's going to be beating faster. Your veins and arteries are constricting. You're going to feel colder. It's going to be unpleasant because you're enduring it. But if you surrender, breathe nice and slow, keep it through your nose, your veins and arteries are going to dilate a little more. I mean, in the core, of course, when your arms and legs get cold, those arteries are going to close because that's what happens within your body. But keeping your heart beat slower and lower gives your blood more time to warm in the core. It gives you a little bit of a buffer to that stressful situation. So the next time you're in a stressful situation, you feel that stress come on, you breathe slow, your heart rate relaxes, and you have a little bit extra mental acuity to deal with it. And if you can meet the cold with that surrender, it releases a bunch of anti-inflammatory endorphins into your bloodstream. And you get about 80% of the benefit of an ice bath with a cold shower. And those, from an ice bath, those markers, the anti-inflammatory markers, can stay in your bloodstream for like 6 days. For unhealthy people, I found it's more 2 or 3 because our bodies use them more. So if I can keep an ice bath going every other day, I'm guaranteed to keep my pain level down. If I'm doing the breath work every day, I can keep my pain level down. If I stop, it's going to go right back to where it was. But daily breath work, daily cold exposure, my chronic pain was at a 6 and I brought it down to a 4. It's a big shift. And now through years of practice, it's down to a 3 or a 2 on a daily basis, which is much different than a 6.
Yeah. And just kind of going off of your aspect of going into the cold, you're never going to beat the cold. It is not something that you can ever have a competition against. It's something that you just go in and you can harmonize with. And by, like you're saying, breathing in the cold, even if it's a 30-second or a 5-second, whatever it is, cold shower, keep that breath going in and out. And it's like building your stress resilience. It really is putting on a coat of armor that not only helps you to remain cold in the calm, but you take that with you as soon as you step out of that shower and into life itself. So it's just that using the force of nature to build your mental strength in that situation that translates to everything.
Mm-hmm. That's where all the 3 pillars really come right into daily use. Having the mindset to do something uncomfortable, becoming comfortable in the uncomfortable through daily practice, using the breath to nice calm yourself down, let the stress hit you. Okay, there's such a rare time where we have the opportunity to practice with stress in a non high output place. Usually when we're stressed out, we have to perform. We have a deadline. We're in traffic. We have all of these things coming at us right now. And if we don't perform to our highest ability, something negative can happen. In the cold, if you don't like it, you just get out. And if you're in the shower, just turn it to hot and it's over. So it's one of the safest and most convenient places to practice that stress and surrender concept. There's a question here I'd really like to address. It says, does it also work when you're in a severe panic attack? And is it even possible to do that in that state? And I've worked with a lot of people with PTSD. This also works on children having temper tantrums, not mine because they've learned this trick and they'll just drop the ice cube. But whenever you're in that moment and you can't jump into a cold shower or you're depressed or you're having that anxiety attack and you can just feel it, that is an internal stimulus happening again and again and again and again. What I suggest for people to do is go to your freezer, grab an ice cube and put one in each hand. It's going to be uncomfortable. But then again, you're turning that internal stimulus into an external one. And if you've been training in the cold to calm your breath down when you start feeling cold, it gives you that millisecond buffer to go, oh, okay. Because if you look at someone having a panic attack or people who are depressed, my wife's recorded me when I'm depressed, I'm breathing like this. Short, shallow breaths into the chest. Panic attacks is, you can see that happening. And if you can use the ice in your hands as a distraction to correct your rhythm, even as the mental stimulus is going off, just slow your breath down, hold on to that ice, surrender to that uncomfortable moment. It'll pass faster. When I'm depressed, the cold is one of the few things that can really bring me out of it faster than anything. And if I can be cognitively aware enough to use it, it helps. But I don't want people to beat themselves up if they're like, hey, this is supposed to work. Why don't I want to do it right now? That you have to forgive yourself. You have to go, all right, you know what? When I'm ready to do this, I'll do it. Maybe when I'm not feeling so pressured, maybe when I don't have this weight that I want this result, try it before. Train yourself to grab the ice cube before you have the attack, before you get anxious and go, okay, when I hold these 2 ice cubes in my hand, I'm going to slow my breath down. Get the muscle memory ingrained before you actually need to use it.
Yeah, and would you recommend even the possibility of going and jumping in a cold shower, or do you think that has a higher probability of making it worse?
Well, for anxiety, it might make it worse because once the cold hits you and you start to breathe, and you start to quicken that breath, it might at that point make the anxiety attack worse. Trying to do breath work might make it worse. Slow down. Give yourself the time. Go into a dark room. Get rid of all that extra stimulus. Or if the dark room is what's causing it, turn on the lights. Do the exact opposite of what's causing the anxiety. And if it's a group of people that you're around that you can't leave, do the breath that you do in the cold. In 3, out 6. That no matter what you do, it'll help calm your body. I have never found a time where that breath work has not helped me. It's how I try and breathe all day long. I try and go in 4, out 6 to go 1.5 times. And that's 10 seconds. That's 6 breaths a minute. It's hard not to be calm.
18.
12 to 25 is what most people breathe.
Wow, 25. That's a lot.
Yeah, and they're doing it with their mouth like this. Every time people are breathing in through their mouth, they're telling their body to stress out. It's a small little whisper, but we breathe 20 to 30,000 times a day. You're whispering to yourself 20 to 30,000 times stress. It's like being chased by an invisible bear. Your body, like breathing through your mouth is usually a highly stressful situation. And just to be doing that unconsciously is so ineffective to keep calm. If we could all just do this and breathe through our nose, we'd be so much happier. We'd sleep better. We'd have better sleep. Our emotions would be more in our control, and we'd have more energy all the time.
Yeah. On that same vein as panic attacks, have you ever coached anybody with asthma?
Yeah.
Like asthma attacks? Does that similarly apply in the situation of feeling, hey, I'm about to go into a situation where I can't breathe. Oh, let me just sit here and slow my breathing down a little bit?
Well, for that, Buteco and the Oxygen Advantage are just incredible with how they're helping people who have asthma. And when I am teaching someone who has asthma, that's the technique I'm going to use. Yeah. If someone's breathing quickly through the mouth with the Wim Hof Method, they may trick their body into thinking they're having an asthma attack or a panic attack. So that's why I'm always telling my newer practitioners, people who've never done it before, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Make sure you're taking deep diaphragmatic breaths and never breathe more quickly than you can breathe correctly. So even when Wim says, pick up the speed, he doesn't say pick up the speed incorrectly.
You're not in your chest. You don't want to cause tension. You just want to use your diaphragm to expand yourself, not your muscles to expand yourself, because that's what causes more like
the locking up. Yeah, it's never force anything. I hear people tell me, I have to force myself to relax. I'm like, I don't know how you do that.
Yeah, I get that though. I understand.
Yeah, I have to force myself to relax. Or you can just relax without the forcing.
It's lovely.
But yeah, it's that deep diaphragmatic breath. The easiest way to make sure you're doing it is you put your hands in like a C, put them on the lower part of your ribs, and as you breathe in, it should expand laterally, and as you breathe out, it should go back in. So just put your hands here, breathe in through your nose, breathe out. You should feel those hands move. And if you can't feel those sides move, just push a little harder, and that'll tell your body, breathe here, and you'll feel it move. And then you're breathing up into the belly, up into the chest. That's the proper breath. Yeah. Every breath we should take all day should be that proper breath.
Yeah, and it takes a long time to reconnect into that. I mean, I grew up with with asthma, with severe asthma. I had asthma attacks, panic attacks multiple times a year. I was in the hospital every year for multiple years. And even now, I grew out of that over the course of like 10 years when I was 13 to 20-ish. And even now, I still am trying to figure out, like, how do I take a proper breath? How do I slow it down? How do I not force the breath? What does it mean to take a diaphragmatic breath? And with all of this stuff, like, don't get stressed if you don't know what this stuff means, and just start spending some time breathing a little bit and actually focus on, what does it mean? What is a comfortable breath? What is a slow breath? What is all of this? It takes a while to figure it out.
Even switching from mouth breathing to nose breathing is going to be slightly uncomfortable. Our brain is hardwired to keep doing the same thing it's been doing. So even if you know something's going to be beneficial to you, your brain may say, hey, this is going to be mildly uncomfortable. I don't want to do it. And that's hardwired into us as humans. Excuse me. We aim for the most easiest comfort we can find, and that's just what our brain tells us to do. I want this. This is easy. I don't know what's going to happen over there. I'm uncomfortable about that. Don't try that. And that's just what it does. So when you switch to nose breathing from mouth breathing, you might feel a little uncomfortable. Your body's going to have a little more carbon dioxide in it than it's used to. And it's going to say, I don't know what's happening right now. And that's normal. But we need carbon dioxide is not a bad thing. We need a proper balance of carbon dioxide and O2 in our bloodstream for proper vascular health.
Yeah.
When you breathe through your nose, you're not getting rid of all the carbon dioxide you would with a mouth exhale. You retain 42% more moisture by breathing through your nose. You're actually adding moisture and heat to the air as you breathe it in. Your nasal cavity, which is behind your nose, is directly linked to the immune system. So it's scanning the air you breathe in through your nose, and it doesn't do any of that through your mouth.
Yeah.
But it's easy to take that breath. So it's take the time, as you said, to just sit and just breathe. Take the time to invest in yourself. It's the only investment that pays off 100% every single time.
More than 100%.
More than 100%. An easy exercise I can suggest to everybody is 9 breaths. Try to go in 4, out 6. Every third breath, hold your breath for 5 seconds. It'll take 2 minutes. It'll calm you down. It'll relax your body. I can't suggest it more enough. Every day I do this 5 or 6 times a day. Sure, it'd be my pleasure.
Let's do it.
We're going to take 9 breaths. This is mirrored, so I'm not quite used to moving these hands this way. Every third breath, we're going to hold for 5 seconds.
Okay.
So let's go. We're going to go in. I'll count. Don't worry about it. In. Out. In. Out. Just through the nose. In. Out. And we're going to hold for 5 seconds. Nice and slow in, fully expand everything. And let it go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Back in. Nice and slow. Exhale. 3, 4, 5, 6. Nice and slow in. 2, 3, 4. This is our 6th breath, so we're going to hold after the exhale. 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's hold that exhale for 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Fully in. This is our last set of 3. And if you can't inhale or exhale to this rhythm, it's okay. Just do your best. Exhale. 3, 4, 5, 6. In. 4. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Last breath. Nice and slow in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Last exhale. Nice and slow. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we hold for 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. And just let your breathing return to normal. That was 9 focused breaths.
Not about you, but I feel pretty darn good after that.
Yeah, it's just a nice way throughout your day to check in with yourself, to vent a little bit of stress.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is a combination. This exercise is inspired by like Buteyko and by the Wim Hof Method, to just be aware, bring that awareness inside, not let any thoughts intrude, but to count. Counting, I cannot express how important actually counting is. Give your mind something to focus on. Like repeat those numbers in, out, hold, and just use them to give your mind that focal point. So no matter what you're thinking about throughout the day, 5 times a day, try that exercise.
Totally. Yeah. And that's, was my next question was, what was the most impactful, easy to implement technique or life hack you have as a consistent practice in your life that you'd like to share with the community? So I think that was it.
That one right there. Because you can do it anywhere.
Awesome.
You can do it in an airport. You can do it on an airplane.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm about to go on stage or if I'm about to go in front of a group, I do that to calm myself down.
Totally.
If I feel I need a little more energy, then I'll do a couple other breathing exercises to bring the level back up. But usually it's not an excess of energy I'm worried about.
Yeah.
it's I need to bring it down just a bit.
What was it you said earlier? Excita what?
Oh, it's from My Little Pony. It's nervous sighted.
Nervous sighted, yeah.
Nervous sighted, yeah.
That was great. It's a nervous sighted cure.
Yeah, and my wife always says anxiety is just excitement without proper breath. So if I start to feel anxious, I'm probably excited about something, but breathing totally incorrect at the moment.
Yeah. And that's such a powerful thing to realize too. It's like that nervous energy is not necessarily a bad thing. If you can change your mind and say, hey, I feel stressed or I feel this. And instead of saying that, say, I feel excited. And I love that. You can catch into it and change your breath and actually embody that excitement.
Even I don't change it. I surrender to it. Instead of fighting it, trying to meet stress with stress or meet nervousness with stress or fighting it, I'm just like, oh, okay, this is what it is right now. Just like an ice bath. I can't change this. This is what it is, but I can use this. I like to be nervous before I go on stage. Now I look for that. If I'm not nervous, okay.
Something's wrong.
Something's wrong.
Why am I excited about this thing I'm about to go do? Like, why am I here even?
Yeah. Like, oh, there's 1,000 people out on that stage. And if I don't care about that, something's off.
Yeah, exactly. That's cool. Well, we're reaching our 45-minute. I got a couple of just kind of first of all, is there anything else that you'd like to cover?
Oh, yes. This question right here. I find it hard to regain my normal breath after these deep breathing exercises. I feel uneasy. Am I doing it wrong? No. Actually, if you're not used to breathing deep, that uneasiness is that uncomfortableness I was talking about. You are building up a bit more carbon dioxide in your blood. Your veins and arteries are opening a little bit. It may make you seem a little too aware. It may seem like too hyper-focused. That's normal. You just have to bring it back. If you're not super comfortable with the feeling, slow down, stop, always listen to your body. But that air hunger, that sense of like unease inside the body is normal. And that's what we're working with the slow, deep breaths that in Buteyko and the oxygen advantage. That's what your training is to become more comfortable with the air hunger by breathing through the nose again. If you're usually breathing through your mouth, switching to the nose breath, you're going to feel that need to breathe. And at any point, if you're feeling that uncomfortableness, it's okay to go and blow off a little extra CO2. It'll help you feel better. Take a couple deep breaths, breathe out through the mouth. You'll feel yourself relax. That's the best advice I can give when moving into a new breathing pattern is if it feels uncomfortable, just let it go and slowly bring it back into your life. Don't try and jump in. I've had athletes who go, hey, you said breathe through your nose. I tried to go on a jog and I couldn't do it. Can you walk by breathing through your nose? if you can't walk yet, running's going to be impossible. So it's always start at the beginning and say, okay, the goals for health, strength, and happiness are not the same for everybody. Your neighbors are not your competitors. Celebrate their goals and they'll celebrate yours. But it's incremental steps, small steps.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that you say a lot too is you're always in control of your breath. So even when you're bringing up these feelings and these things inside of you that you're not used to, you are in control with your breath. You can slow down, extend your exhale, sigh a little bit. There are all these other things that you can do if that feeling is too much. You can embrace into that feeling and you will eventually be able to go deeper and deeper into that. But at the beginning, especially, it's an uncomfortable thing. And you're playing with this balance of how deep can I go into this feeling and this benefit that is also not going to cause me undue stress, and still knowing that you have the control to come back from it or to go deeper into it. And that's what you can then start to play with.
Absolutely. That was beautiful. Like, you're really good at wordifying. I like that.
I like wordifying. I'm a soundsmith. What do you know? That's awesome.
See, there's a question. What can we do to help make a friend or relative who has type 1 diabetes? Be there for them. I wish it was as simple as you give them the right information, they're going to listen. But so many type 1 diabetics and even type 2s, I mean, I had people tell me that if I switched to a completely plant-based diet, my type 1 diabetes would be cured. This is an incurable illness. And I mean, they're coming at me with the best of intentions, but so many people come at you with these great intentions and they're like, this will cure you. Nope. So I don't use cure. I say, the breath work has really, really helped me. It embodies me. And just listen, I guess I could say, and try not so much to solve the problem as be there for it when they have it. Because I don't know why. Maybe it's the diabetic induced depression or whatever, but if I'm having a bad day as a diabetic and someone's like, all you have to do is this, chances are I've done almost everything I know how to do and I'm already exhausted, and someone giving me another suggestion is just like, stop it. Don't want to hear it. I've tried. I just hurt right now. And it's to encourage those healthy habits before those things happen, like trying the anxious breathing with your mouth, not with your mouth, with your nose, holding the ice cubes before you find the need for it. And just, being supportive, being there, showing them good stuff that helps. Like showing them like, hey, this diabetic has helped themselves with this, because not everything is going to work for everybody. Yeah. But I can say just breathing through your nose is really, really going to help.
Yeah, I love that comment about, when you're already in a place that is difficult and where you're hurting, you've already exhausted everything that you know how to do. And when somebody comes, when you're in that state going, hey, dude, just breathe. It's probably just like the most annoying thing ever and does not help take away stress.
No, and I know that the breathing will help me.
Yeah.
And when someone says, just breathe, I'm like, I know. But it's one of the ironies of strong emotions is you're just not as smart in those places. Yeah. And maybe not as receptive. I suffer from it myself. I wish I could say that every time my wife says, hey, you're feeling this way, you should probably do this. I go, you're right, honey. Let me get on that right away. I wish I could say that.
Don't we all?
Don't we all? Exactly. But just try and catch your breath when you can. Encourage those good habits when you don't need them. Yeah. You'll find that when you need them, they're muscle memory.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're having a good day, practice. When you're having a good day, breathe. When you're having a good day, just go pick up some ice and see what it feels like.
Yeah.
You'll know that that's something that can center you and bring you back to who you are and what your most powerful self is when you are in that anxious state afterwards. So,
and forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. I cannot stress enough that like, just, why are you being so hard on yourself? Like, yes, you could have done something different, but it's done and you didn't. So maybe next time, give yourself the option to learn from it. Don't always just be like, oh, I failed. No, it's a happy accident. Just try again next time. You didn't succeed this time. If you learn from it, you didn't fail. But just relax. It's okay. It's okay to mess up. It's okay to stumble. It's okay to fall. Like, I mean, I fail epically a lot, and I hopefully learn from it. If not, I'll just fail some more until I do. That's okay. Be okay with not having your best day. That's where the balance comes from. You don't know how good your good days are unless you have the opposite. Try and walk the middle if you can.
And, and in all days, and especially now when we're in quarantine and we're not able to do the things that we normally do, may not be able to be around the people that help ground us, and we're stuck with ourselves. Be forgiving, embrace yourself, embrace that you're not perfect. You are enough exactly as you are.
Exactly.
Nobody ever can be perfect.
No,
we're all learning.
And it's okay to be stressed right now. There are things you can do to lessen that stress, but don't just try and hide it. Don't try and push it down. Just let it out. If you need to go scream, find some place that you're not going to freak out your family or neighbors and do that. Maybe
or
use
freak out too.
Yeah. Or if that's how you want to play it, you do that. I mean,
that'll probably come up afterwards too, so it'll be better.
Yeah, I mean, you can go up behind everybody and go, "Brah! I just needed to do that." I mean, do you, I guess.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Find things that make you laugh. Find things that make you laugh.
Exactly. That'll probably make everybody laugh after scaring the crap out of them.
I'm a dad. I kind of get a pass for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. This has been awesome. I am really grateful that you volunteered to come on out and to talk and to discuss all of this amazing content. Where can people find you?
I'm on the WimHofMethod.com platform. Under North American instructors is Chuck McGee III. That's my name, so it really works out well for me. I do right now. I'm doing Monday night. Yeah, and North Americans. I was one of the first, and they went by first name, so that was really lucky for me with C.
Nice.
Yeah, and I have a. Yeah, I would go there. You can contact me on Facebook via Messenger. I do Monday night breathwork sessions that are awesome. Everyone can come to. Share the invite if you'd like with the people. That link, even if the date doesn't say the correct date, the link is always the same link, so it'll always work. And please just find things that allow you to relax and do those things.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
And thank you for your time. This is a lot of fun. A great way to spend an hour of my day.
This is awesome, man. Yeah. And just the last thing is, what is the impact that you personally want to have on the world?
Man, that's a pretty loaded last question. To surrender. There's this lie that we tell everybody that vulnerability is weakness. And I ate that lie for 3 decades, 3.5 decades, actually. I thought, always be strong, never ask for help, do it all yourself. The impact I could have is just to surrender to what you can't control, find yourself focused in your breath, and with a positive attitude, you can meet most terrible things, even if it's terrible. You can just meet it and finish it and do it and be done with it.
Yeah.
And it's just to have, get people breathing correctly, get them to know that they're the body's pilot, not its passenger, that they can affect so much more within themselves. And they have that power. They just have to focus on breathing.
Yeah, man. It's beautiful. Thank you for being you.
Thank you you're welcome, I guess. I don't know how to be anybody else, really. I mean, I tried being other people. It was an epic failure.
Yeah, dude, I know how that goes. Well, hey, thanks so much, Chuck. Thank you, everybody, for being on. This has just been amazing. In these interviews, and I'm doing another one next week with Vikram Deol. He is an amazing real estate broker turned healer as well. And we're going to talk about his story and what he's gone through to get to where he's at now. It's really amazing. He had heavy metal poisoning and had to heal himself from that, which is like, it was not a good looking time. And my mission is just to bring real, applicable techniques and life hacks that will connect you to your most powerful self during COVID-19 and as the rest of the world goes afterwards. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here. It's amazing. Remember to surrender to the present moment, work on your breath, and just be your amazing, beautiful, whole, and complete self. you're enough, you're showing up is enough, and your enough is fantastic. So, see you guys later.
See you
like,
later, everybody.
share, subscribe, all that stuff. Send this to all the diabetics you know. Send it to groups and support groups. And thank you so much.
Be well.
I thought they faked it. Well, I mean, you faked